As you can guess from the title of this video, this PCB has some challenges. And what I've done up to this point is really build out this board as you see it, trying to put on the minimal components so that I can just test and see, do I get address latching, and am I seeing the right things coming out on my LED bar graphs up there towards the top of the board. So I put this much together, and at least at this point I should be seeing addresses being latched, the initial, well, once it gets done with the initial reset where it starts looking for data in my ROM, and I'm not getting any of that. And so I dug into this and found that I have a major issue on the schematic, and let me show you what that is. So here is the version of the schematic that I used for ordering that PCB. And when I look at my 286, this is the component I had used. And what I found as I went back to this is whoever authored this component, it wasn't me, this is something I pulled from EasyEDA, from the community library. They have the pinouts completely wrong. And so I'm sending the wrong signals and wrong voltages probably all over the place on that PLCC. And so I was trying to think, well, where did I go wrong there? I thought all of that had been tested out on my previous PCB. So I went to my previous PCB, which would have been, just this little breakout. And I noticed that its pinout is totally different. And as I went and looked at it, I realized I had used a different component in EasyEDA, and that was this one here. And so this one is proper, but the other one that I was working on, this one definitely is not. And I did not remember that I had switched this and did not validate all of those pins. So when I go into this, I can edit the symbol and just double check every pin number and spice number. And that did not, this data in here is completely wrong. And so if I go back to this other one, I could do the same thing. I could edit the symbol and look at, and I can see pin number to spice number, all of that looks different. So I don't know why that other version of this 286 is so messed up, but it is. So really at this point, I've got a couple of options. Either A, I could run 68 baud wires between the PCB and maybe an upper PCB that I could correct all those connections, or I could just move on to the next version of the board and get it ordered. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I can't say that I have a strong desire to run 68 baud wires and have a daughter board sitting on top of the board to get going here. The only downside, I'm not worried about, spending $20 on the boards. It's just the time to get them. That's the disappointing part, I guess, at this point, is just having to wait for that. So I think I'm going to go back then and take this component here and bring it over to my latest version of the schematic, which has all kinds of other stuff on it. So this part will be good to get the updated board, because it would have been something I was going to do anyways. I'm just having to do it more quickly than anticipated and with less testing of the overall system, because the rest of the system here I've not been able to fully test, so I could run into other issues yet even after correcting this socket for the 286. But I think I'm going to next go ahead and get this latest schematic put into PCB format. And so I have some additions to it, of course. I have a lot more runs to my Arduino debugger. I've added some additional logic on the math coprocessor as far as enabling the data transceivers to make sure that those get disabled when I'm using the math coprocessor. All of the SPI functionality that's been added, including that nano, all of that is new since I ordered the first PCB. So I think in the next few days I'll get the PCB version 0.10 spun up here, and probably go through and do my best to just double check pinouts and get that ordered up. So rest in peace, this board. Not going to get me very far on this one. So I guess you win some and you lose some. This is one that I would say I lost, and it's an oversight on my part. I've had previous videos where I've commented on triple check all of your pinouts on community supplied components, and for some reason I overlooked that, thinking I had already tested this on a previous board, which obviously was not the case because I switched components on this schematic here. So that's it for now, just a short video. Wanted to just provide an update. Probably the next update I'll provide is an updated look at what the version 0.10 board will look like, and then get that ordered up.